Okay.
Thank you, Connie.
Are you guys understanding what I'm saying so far?
Yeah. How do you know all this?
I read a lot of books. You'll read a lot of books too. You'll know, when you're my age, you'll know more than me, I promise you that. Okay, so Hitler decided he was going to try to kill all the Jews, and slowly but surely he started passing laws to make it Jews could. Okay, awesome. So you could listen to the story.
Where I said here?
First he said Jews couldn't own land, and he made special rules where Jews had to live. He made Jews wear yellow stars on their arms so he could identify who's Jewish. He was terrible.
The numbers were announced.
At the beginning, before he started really killing all the Jews, Grandma Bella had two parents. One was called Ai, Mr. Dadenhirsch, whose Hebrew name is Yehuda Aryeh. Whose Hebrew name is Yehuda Aryeh. Who's named after Yehuda? Who's Yehuda Aryeh in our family? Judah is named after him. And his wife's name, Grandma's mother, was named Dina. Who is named after Grandma's mother? Dina, excellent. Okay, so Hitler is starting to pass laws and things are getting very scary for the Jews. So Grandma's father, Ai, Mr. Danhirsch, has an idea. He says, what I need to do is, I need to hide my wife and my daughter. I need to hide my wife and my daughter someplace so that Hitler and all the Germans won't find them. So he had an idea. He had a partner in business, and his partner had a sister. And he decided, his partner said, your wife and your daughter Bella could stay with my sister and pretend that they're not Jewish, live in a Christian house and pretend that they're not even Jewish.
Which is so hard.
So that if Hitler would come, yeah, of course, Mom, I would love for you to say the whole story. I'm just trying to
But we had passports.
That doesn't
explain
explain what that is for them.
Well,
They don't know
like
what that
when
means.
you travel, you
I
have
know
your
what
name on
that
it.
is.
Okay,
So
why
we had names, Polish names, that we're not Jewish,
Bit-
we're Poles.
I got a Zahut for grandma as if they were born in Poland. As if they were like,
Well, let's explain. Not that they were born in Poland, because Jews were born
We
in
were
Poland.
bo-
but they
we
were
were born in
Christians
They
in
were
Poland.
Christians in Poland.
I was born in Poland, but I was Jewish. That's my phone, your phone. Okay.
not me.
No, it's okay. Don't worry.
So,
Okay, so
we
Mom,
had
what was your name?
passports. So
Okay.
we had passports with Christian names on it. My name was Kristina Koronetska.
Wait, Christina Koronetska.
Right.
Yes.
It says on the thing.
Yes, right?
Uh-huh.
Yes.
Report card.
Mhm.
Right. So the first family that we stayed with was a woman
report cards
who
right
had
behind
2 grown
behind you,
children,
right behind
and
you.
she was divorced. And she knew we were Jewish.
Mm-hmm.
Are you listening? She knew we were Jewish, but she was afraid to keep us much longer because she says if the Gestapo would come in, they would, you know what who Gestapo
The Nazis,
was?
they would
The
kill
Nazis
everyone.
The Nazi
would come
police.
in, would kill her kids and her. But she was divorced, so the husband lived alone. He was a professor. So she thought that maybe it would be a good idea that my mother she could say, oh, I know this woman. She's looking for a job. She could be your housekeeper. And she has a daughter. And he agreed to that. So we were there a while, but he was a little crazy. I guess maybe that's why she divorced him, because he said I was stubborn, that I wasn't trying hard enough. And I remember him beating me like with a stick, my hands. I could write better and I could do more. So my mother wasn't happy with that and we left. And my mother ended up getting a job as a housekeeper with a family of 8 kids. And they had sheep. And I was like little Bo Peep. I was watching the sheep. I was a shepherd. But I was like 5 years old, you have to understand. So if the sheep ran away, guess what I did? I cried. I remember that. And there had an uncle. He'd look at me. I went to church. I went to school with the kids. That's where you see my report card is from there. I was there 2nd grade. I went to school with them. I went to church with them. And I was just, like, lived in it with the family. So this professor, one day, this uncle asked me, I don't know why, he had a weird feeling. He asked me who I went to church with, at where I was born. And I said, my father. And he said, which church is nicer? He said, they're both nice. And he says, are you sure you didn't have like a Jewish grandmother or something? Because he said, you have a Yiddish Kepala.
He was trying to trick Grandma to say that she was Jewish because he thought maybe Grandma was Jewish, and if Grandma was Jewish, he would call Hitler and say, oh, I have a Jew hiding here. So he was trying to trick Grandma to admit that, and he'd get a reward. And he was trying to trick Grandma to say that she was Jewish. So he'd ask Grandma, like, which day of the week do you go and pray? On Saturday or on Sunday? Because the Christians pray on Sunday.
Correct.
And what day do we go to shul? Saturday. Right. So he figured Grandma's a little girl. She would remember which day she would go to shul, and she would just say. So he asked Grandma, which day of the week do you go to and pray?
So I would answer not what he wanted to hear. I'd say Sunday. So then he didn't say anything, and I went to my mother, and I said to my mother, I know this isn't my real name. And I told her what happened. She says, you must never tell anybody. Like,
She was scared.
yeah, she was afraid for my life and her life. So anyway, we were okay like that. It ended up okay. And then when the army liberated Poland, we were in a DP camp. You know what that means? Displaced persons. And my mother and
For like people who don't have a...
Why don't you explain that a little bit better?
Yeah.
Okay, so Grandma jumped ahead a few years.
Yeah. Like what? What did I skip?
War.
The whole war.
Well, I was there. I told them I did.
Okay.
I wasn't
So
in the war.
during the war, Hitler killed 6 million Jews. 6 million Jews. 6 million Jews. That's like...
He was in concentration camps. In different camps.
That's like if you had like 600 cities of Modi'in, the entire city. 600. Tons and tons and tons and tons of people Hitler killed. But eventually America came and they attacked, and the British, very good Isaac, a few armies came and they defeated Hitler, and all the Jews were allowed to be free at that point. But a lot of families were separated. And so Grandma's father was living separately from Grandma and her mom.
We heard that I.E. was killed in camps from different, like, I don't know how my mother found that out. No, that he was killed.
Yes, exactly,
Yes.
Isaac, either from starving or something
But
else.
that he didn't make it through the war. So we were in a DP camp, and they were organizing displaced persons.
That's like people who didn't have a home, because there were a lot of children that didn't have parents. They would put them all together in one place so they could try to take care of them a little bit. So it's called like people with no homes. They put them all together in a camp.
And guess what? And my mother and I were scheduled to go. They were organizing trips to Palestine at the time. It wasn't Israel yet. And we were supposed to go. And then somebody from where we lived saw a newspaper ad. You hear me? That this man, he gave his name, Leon Dannenhirsch, was looking for his wife and daughter. and he brought this article to my mother, and my mother contacted him, and then we met. He lived in Munich, in a big city in Germany. But when he came to meet us, I looked at him coming down the street, and I said, "That's not my father." I remember him being big and strong, and he was frail and sickly looking after the war.
Because during the war, it was very hard to get food, and there wasn't medicine.
The Nazis were starving the Jews during the war, so he lost a ton of weight, so Grandma didn't recognize her
Oh,
own
like the
father.
people we saw today in the movie.
Right.
But you know what I.E. did when he was in the camps? He was a baker.
Mhm.
He baked the bread for the Germans. That's what kept him alive.
But he stole bread and gave it to some of the other
That's
inmates.
why you're good at making cookies.
Yes,
Mhm.
yeah.
It was scary times there.
Exactly.
Scary times.
So anyway, so when we got together with I.E., we didn't go to Israel. We lived in Munich, where he was living for a couple of years, and then I don't know, my parents decided. My mother had a sister in Brooklyn, and I.E. had a sister in New Jersey to go to America instead, to go to the United States. So in July of 1949, we came to New York. Ellis Island was closed at the time. We landed in Boston. And then we lived in Brooklyn.
Did they let you in through Boston? Were there any issues?
No problem, yeah. And that's the story.
Any questions?
Yes.
I should have been in 6th grade. They put me into 5th grade to learn English, but I skipped ahead
A
shortly.
few times.
Do you guys have questions for Grandma, or you want me to start with the question?
Who has Grandma's report card?
You want me to
Can I
start?
see it?
Okay.
Now, Goldie, does
Can I
Goldie
see
want
it?
to look at
Mom,
Can I see it?
you were living with
Give it
the
back to her very
the
soon.
second
The
family.
kids tonight.
With the kids?
She's not about
When
grandma's
you were
grades.
living with the second family with the guy that was suspicious that you were Jewish.
Yeah, all the kids. Yeah.
Right. How did you know, like, when the war was over, when America liberated?
I guess it
Uh,
had
that
to
that
be
it
in
was.
the news.
How did you know that it was? But like, so you just left? You just like said, I'm leaving the house.
I guess so. I don't
Okay.
know.
How did they not catch you?
That's such a good
Yeah,
question.
huh?
It's amazing.
Because we had legitimate passports.
But that's the big question, how couple had Hashem, grandma
Hashem.
had Hashem on her side,
Right?
right?
To this day, Goldie. I really feel Hashem's been watching over me my whole life.
Can you understand that? Right? It's
Yeah.
unbelievable.
Right.
Because there is no real reason, because unfortunately so many
So many
people,
people
so many
didn't
people were
make
in
it.
grandma's position
So
and they
many
were
people
caught,
didn't
but
make
grandma
it.
wasn't, and it was,
Yeah.
It's a big miracle.
yeah.
Yeah.
Grandma, did your
exactly,
parents have siblings?
Sure.
Yeah.
I said my mother had a sister in Brooklyn, in Williamsburg,
Mhm.
and I had two sisters, one in New Jersey and one in Brazil. And the brothers, whoever he had, nobody else survived.
So how old were you when you came to America?
11.
That's old.
My age.
Your age, right? You're almost 12, but yeah,
Almost
exactly.
12. Yeah, almost
It's a whole
12.
life.
Yeah. Almost 12.
Could you imagine living like that? Your first 12 years hiding with other families and like pretending you're not even Jewish. Scary, right?
But my mother, when I came to tell her, she thought that I didn't know. She really thought that I believed that that we were Polish. She didn't want to talk about it because, you don't want to tell a kid something. But,
Anyway.
but I knew.
After the war was over, Golda, after the war was over, a lot of Jewish people were killed and had suffered a lot. The United Nations at the time voted that the Jewish people should have their own state called Israel. And so, starting then, about 70 years ago, we were allowed to have our own country. And then people started coming from all over the world to Israel. From Germany, people that were like tortured by Hitler.
I think it was before 48.
And right after that, tons of people from Iraq and Iran and Morocco and Syria and Russia and from Ethiopia. These are all like, you see black people from Ethiopia, right? People started coming from all over the world to Israel. And this is a gift that Hashem has. He said it before Mashiach, Hashem is going to have a kibbutz galiyot. People from all the different countries, all the different galiyot are going to come back to Israel. Grandma is now back in Israel. Imagine that. She went from a little girl living with a Christian family, and now she's living in her own country with her own grandchildren in Eretz Yisrael.
Right.
Amazing, right?
There's no greater bracha.
Ezen nes gadol kazeh. Baruch she'asa nisim lanu bayamim hahem b'zman
Were you
hazeh.
ever afraid you would forget Judaism?
Such a good question.
I don't know if I thought about it a lot because I had to do whatever the kids were doing. So I tried to just, do, yeah.
It was so important for Grandma to be able to convince everybody else that she
But
wasn't
8 kids,
Jewish.
There are 8 kids there, yeah, and the parents and the older guy like that. He was.
Were there other Jewish people living with you, or you were the only one?
No.
How did they react when you left?
When we went after the war, it was a relief. It was, you felt
I said,
felt
how did
free.
they react?
Oh, I don't know. They didn't know we were Jewish. We just left.
You were probably also too young to say like Kriya Shema Lamita at night before you went to bed and stuff. It was like you're only 4, so.
Yeah.
Like,
No, I was doing what they were doing.
right, yeah.
What other questions you might have?
Am I happy to be here?
Yeah.
Extremely.
Would you ever want to go back and see the houses or the families that
Well,
you were living
the
with?
woman that saved us, the first one who knew we were Jewish, my mother used to send her money and clothing, and then when she died, to her daughter, and I was in touch with her. The others didn't know. I think they would drop dead if they knew that we were Jewish.
Did you report the first one to Yad Vashem?
No, I don't think so. Yeah, she was a righteous Gentile for sure.
In the summertime, we went to Far Rockaway in Queens near the ocean. I.E. was with us, and I remember this. I.E. was on the boardwalk with a carriage, and who was in the carriage? Shimmy was in the carriage. He was a little baby. And I.E. is wheeling the carriage. Says to me, Auntie, look at this. I can't believe it. He starts crying. That here I am in Far Rockaway in America, and I'm wheeling my grandson. He couldn't believe it. Little Shimmy was in the carriage.
Because after they went through such horrors that we can't even imagine, the thought of being able to live and be free and have a family and see a baby again was not something they could imagine because so many people were just being killed.
Right, they were being,
Food,
they were
no,
being,
I was on
they were
a-
being starved and they were
one of
working
them
so
was
hard and
like,
they,
it was called
So it was
a
like-
death march
Yeah.
in Buchenwald.
yeah.
It was not
People
believable
were
to
just
people
walking
that
and
they
dropping.
survived and that they were able to continue their life. We can't imagine
I took a
that.
go.
Anyway, Goldalo. So once a year, Israel chose a day, Yom HaShoah, to remember what happened, so that we never forget what the Goyim did to us, but also to be so thankful. It's right before Yom HaShoah, to be so thankful we have our own country, where the Israeli government protects us, and also protects Jews all over the world. You know that if a Jew is in trouble anywhere, Israel would always think of sending soldiers to try to help them. And so it's a tremendous, tremendous miracle and bracha that Hashem gave us, Medinat Yisrael. And you're growing up in Medinat Yisrael. So
Yeah.
Which is what happened after the war.